Board of Directors meeting for October 8th, 2025 to order. Let's stand for a pledge of allegiance.
Ready, begin. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, Denise, can we get a roll call, please?
Director Walper.
Here.
Director Berman.
Here.
Director Lohmeyer.
Here.
Director Martinez. Director Wheeler.
Here.
Vice Chair Johnston.
Here.
Chair Rydell.
Here.
We have a quorum.
All right, thank you. And Denise, was the agenda properly notified?
Yes, it was.
Thank you very much. Up next on B is a motion to approve or amend the agenda.
Chair Rydell, I move to amend the agenda to remove item J.
Okay,
Second.
it's been moved and seconded. Any other adjustments as we're looking at this or amendments? I think that was it. Okay, all in favor, raise your right hand.
Motion carries.
Thank you very much. On to C, Board of Directors reports. Director Walper.
I have nothing.
All right, thank you. Director Berman.
No update, thanks.
Thank you. Director Lohmeyer.
I don't feel like I should say no update.
Don't succumb to the peer pressure. You can talk, it's okay.
I don't know. Wrestling's about to start. We're happy about that. We've been watching a lot of football games, and they've been really good. Our teams look good. Like we're playing well, and that's exciting to watch. So I don't know. I love football season. So that's all.
All right, thank you. Director Wheeler.
I'm going to talk a little bit about youth football. We have 5 teams. I think I've said that in the past meetings. And we're having a pretty darn good season across the board. Obviously tough competition and seeing a lot of success playing against big schools. And it's just the way the numbers fell this year that it worked out where I think we had the right amount of bodies in the right spots. And so it's been a good year. So bright things ahead for Estacada youth football and high school football. I'll leave it at that.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you.
Vice Chair Johnston.
2 updates. One is I was able to participate in our high school fall ball. Director Lohmeyer was talking about, the participation in fall wrestling. We had 22 kids playing fall baseball. We had an 18U and a 16U team. The records weren't great, but just to know that these kids are getting extra reps is going to help us compete with the larger schools and in our conference. So I'm really appreciative we had that opportunity. And then I was able to attend with Superintendent Carpenter and Chair Rydell the OSBA training. It's a training about board meetings, mainly. There's some updated rules that I'm sure we can get out to everybody, but most everything stays the same. Just a refresher training, which was good to be at. We also attended a light dinner, and then there was a meeting afterwards. I think Director the Finance, Scott, will be talking a little bit about it, but there was a little bit of, sky is falling conversation about, federal funds and state funds and how everything's mapping out. And there's a document you have that they'll might go over a little bit here just on some of the high-level items that they went through. But it was a really good training. I was glad I was able to attend. And there was good people around. We went around and talked about some of the successes we're feeling in each one of our districts, and we were able to comment how the cell phone policy has been wonderful in our district. So others tried to agree, even though we know that that's not the case. That was enough out of me.
All right, thank
Oh
you.
wait, I have one more thing.
Nope,
I
your
just
time's
remembered.
passed.
Wrestling update. We had kids enter the Clackamas Community College takedown tournament, and we had 3 kids place, first, second, and third.
Nice.
Wow.
Nice.
Very cool.
Yeah.
All right, and I don't have a ton to add. We were, again, attended the fall regional meeting, which is always nice to hear, what the lobbyists for the OSBA are talking about and spending their time in Salem. So I know we've got good people that are out there advocating for school districts and trying to help where we're headed. So good information. Happy to answer any questions that any of the board members have on that. The only other thing I'll add without trying to repeat is, oh yeah, now I remember. Just attendance at events. So I've been to boys soccer, girls soccer, volleyball, of course, football. And I feel like attendance is up across the board, and I just think that's a sign of engagement. I know we've got the parent engagement surveys and the staff engagement surveys came out, and so I'm excited to see. But just based on what I'm seeing in the community, I feel like there's more participation, more people showing up, which is really exciting to see. So hopefully that continues, and I'm excited to see the results of the engagement surveys as they come through. So, and that's it for me.
Chair Idell, can I have one more
Yes.
30-second bit?
Yes, 25 seconds.
After the Scappoose football game, I already mentioned this to Danny Randall, but I had a Scappoose fan come up, and it was like the first day that we rolled out the fan cam and all the fun stuff, or one of the first days. And she was absolutely enthralled and happy and like, wow, you guys are knocking it out of the park. And so I wanted to publicly acknowledge Danny,
go, Danny.
Josh, and everybody else on that crew for putting together a outstanding show and engaging the fans. She was just happy that the youth cheer, I think, was that night, and everything that was going on. She just could not stop ranting and raving. I kind of tuned her out because we lost, but no, but in all reality, she was just very
That's awesome.
complimentary of the whole district. So
Very cool.
thank you.
All right. Okay, on to item D. Just district reports, communications department is up first. Come on up, Danny.
Good evening. Unfortunately, Maggie's not feeling well tonight, so you get me for the entire October communications report. So here we go. We will start out with our projects in progress. So as you mentioned, we are in survey season at the moment. So our parent and caregiver survey has started, and we have done outreach to our families to participate. It does end October 17th. As you know, the survey provides an important opportunities for our families to provide feedback anonymously on the things that are going well and the things that we can improve on, allowing us to collect data to move forward with the decisions and how we move forward within the district. So we hope that everybody participates in that. We are currently working on a Canvas Empower School video for our families. The middle school asked to collaborate with us to make sure that our families are aware of these platforms. These are great opportunities for our parents to see what is happening day by day within their students' classrooms, if they have missing assignments, what they're doing, if they're meeting their standards. And we really want to make sure that our families know that it's available to them, and then we'll provide information on what each one is providing to them as a parent, and then also step-by-step how to find the information out that they need to know. Classroom features. So we are having a goal to hit all of our buildings in all different ages and activities in the classroom. So we make sure we can just continue to share with our community the great things that are happening inside of our buildings, the great work that our staff is doing, and then also how our students are engaged every day inside Escada schools. Our completed projects, our growth and capacity communication update. We have shared, and we will continue to share any updates or adjustments that are made to our growth and capacity plan that we have made. We have a Facebook Live that is scheduled in the upcoming weeks to make sure that all of our information's out, all of our questions are answered from our parents, and then also making sure that our district understands that all of these decisions are driven by student success and the most up-to-date data that we have. So we're looking forward to that. Keep an eye out for the date and time. Our current communications revolving crisis and safety. As a district, keeping parents and caregivers informed is a top priority, and we approach all of our communications very thoughtfully and seriously. Recently, we've had some circumstances that required careful and clear and accurate communication to families. We appreciate everybody's patience with that. We've gotten good feedback, so we are just going to continue on the same trend and making sure that we are doing the best that we can, keeping families informed and supported.
I've received a couple of questions regarding the incident with the junior high student. A lot of people that are not involved in the school district would have liked to have known when the memorial was going to be. They didn't find out about it until the day after through the Estacada, what do you call it, Facebook? Estacada Facebook. So it's something we might want to think about for future. Hopefully there's never another future. but there are people in the community that would have liked to have come to support.
Of course. I appreciate that feedback, and I'm happy to relay that with Maggie, and we can talk about it as a team. There's always a line to walk in certain circumstances, so we will definitely take that in and consider. Thank you.
Thank you. I didn't hear about it until the next day either, and my wife and I would have liked to have attended.
Moving on to our RISE committee. They've met 4 times. They've gone over a variety of topics, including our growth and capacity plan and our cell phone policy. Our committee chair was able to join us for a district continuous improvement walkthrough today. She was very impressed with what's happening inside all of our buildings, our continuous improvement work, and how all of our buildings are aligned and on the same page. We're looking forward to her feedback on that, as well as her sharing it with the whole community, or the whole committee that wasn't able to attend. So. And moving on to community engagement, some recent highlights, as you mentioned. Homecoming was really well attended. The parade was very well attended. It's always great to see our community come out to support our schools and our teams. We hope that trend just keeps going up and up. And we thank everybody that joined us for that. We had our first career day at the industrial park. So we had over 100 students who went to our local industrial park and was able to go inside some of our local businesses and see what career opportunities are available to them right here in their backyard. So it was great. They all really appreciated it. We're thankful for our partners that opened up their doors and showed them what opportunities they have right here. And I think it's something we'll probably continue to do yearly because it was a success. And then looking ahead, we have a CTE Advisory Council that we're just beginning outreach for. This is something that we're looking to identify industry leaders. And I'm collaborating with Aaron Gardenhire, so we're developing this to provide a broad guidance and insight to program development. We want to make sure that Estacada Schools continues to be on the cutting edge. We know what the trends are. We know what is aligned with what the workforce needs. So we'll be reaching out to folks about that. And to end it on a more festive note, as you know, our last football game falls on Halloween. So we are doing what we're calling treats and touchdowns. So we're inviting community partners and friends to come table, talk about the organization, hand out candy. We're gonna do costume competitions and do little Halloween fun throughout the game. So hopefully we'll get more community support that way because it will be a lot of fun. And if you're interested in handing out candy, let me know. That is all. Any
All right.
questions?
Any questions for Danny?
Thanks,
All
Danny.
right, thank you. Nice job.
Thank you.
All right, next up is Finance and Accountability Report. Scott?
Good evening. My clicker doesn't seem to be working.
Battery's dead.
Yeah, that may be the case. Well, you have the information in your packet. Is there any way we can, okay, thank you. All right, so the written report is in your packet, the September financial report that we have. The chart is, one more. There we go. Let's talk about enrollment first. So the enrollment figures for our district are looking pretty good. As I mentioned last month, we knew that that number was going to be high and we were going to see a drop into the month of September. This is updated for September 30th. We usually call October our enrollment solidification month. And so really all of the 10-day drops are taken care of. Really the numbers of SPED students, for instance, are sent up to ODE. And by the end of this month, October, we should have a fairly good idea of what our enrollment's going to look like for the balance of the year. And once we have those numbers, the impact on the state school fund, we're able to adjust the amount of state school fund revenue that we can get if our enrollment figures are significantly different than we estimated. Right now, it looks like they are going to be significant enough that we should see a bump in state school fund revenue, likely first seeing in the November payment. November or December payment, depending on how active they are.
I've
But-
got a question for you on that.
Sure,
You know, I've been chewing on that all week.
okay.
Looks like a friggin' road map.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah. I haven't come up with anything yet, but I think we should think about trying to make that a little easier for people to see and to understand.
Okay, we can work on that.
I don't know if we need all that information. We've got it as backup if anybody wants to see it, but
We could go 5 years if you want to maybe
yeah, that's something to
shorten
think
down
about.
the current
Yeah.
year and 4 years prior.
The thing about the history of this document is it was actually the board's request to be able to track enrollment over time. And the reason why I understand its confusion, although the colors kind of show, down below how kind of to follow along with it, and thankfully each year has been better and better. But at the same time, the thing I like about the specific graph that it is it allows us to truly tell our story about growth and capacity and where we are today versus where we were 10 years from now. And so I do like how that articulates that piece. But I do hear what you're saying. To the layman, that could be a confusing thing to see.
Oh, yeah.
Sure.
And I don't consider myself a layman, but I
Right.
have to sit there and look at it
Yeah.
and try to decipher it.
Yep.
Are there any other questions on enrollment? Okay. So this is your financial report, and this financial report includes the first fall payroll, which occurred in mid-September. And again, that payroll was important because we were able to push out and do a pro forma analysis on what we're going to expect in payroll for the balance of the year. And so in those figures in this report, we're not looking at last year's data as a percentage budget, but what we've done is we've pushed out the actuals for September. And that gives us a closer idea of how we're going to do budget performance-wise for both salaries and benefits. And if you go clear to the very far right in the variance column, the fact that there are 2 negative figures there is a good sign, because that means that we have enough budget, we're actually going to come in under budget on the salaries and benefits. So, so that was some good news. Purchase services, the number just below that, is still utilizing last year's expense data by month as a percentage of budget. And so while currently we're projecting an 801,000 variance on the wrong side, we do have some capacity to control the purchasing of services to a certain extent, and tie it closer to budget. And as we're going to talk a little bit about some of the budget forecasting issues that we foresee coming down the pike, that is going to be one large area for our department to pay attention to. So we're going to start really implementing. We're not actually over budget yet. The report is just saying if we spent what we did last year, we would be over budget. But we're not there yet. We're not overspending our budget. We're actually spending on time with our budget. But we can't do what we did last year, for instance, this year coming up. And then finally, I just wanted to highlight, we still have a negative cash flow, and a cash flow which is anticipated. And a negative cash flow is essentially the difference between what we start the year at, and in this case, that's in the upper left-hand column, that's 5 million and change, and what we finish the year at. And so that's, so that particular negative cash flow scenario is playing out. And so we expect that hopefully to shrink as we move forward and hopefully end the year at a higher note than we expect.
And so Scott, just to clarify too, that negative cash flow is, the result of that is it's just a reduction in the ending fund balance, right?
Yes,
We
essentially,
anticipate that we
yeah.
will have some of that based on new contracts and those types of things, that it's not uncommon to spend down that
Correct.
Ending fund balance. So this is just a different way. We've never looked at it as a negative cash flow, so I just want to make sure that it's not like a true negative cash flow. It's a reduction of the ending fund balance, which it's not uncommon to have happen based on the year.
You're right.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you. Thank
Just
you,
to
Mr. Chairman.
piggyback, that number's 9% fund surplus.
Yes, that one that we're, the one that we're highlighting right now, which is an increase over last month.
Right.
And our goal is still to try to get that to 10 or 11 before it's all said and done.
Yeah. And as I mentioned, well, I've got some other presentations to talk about construction excise tax and budget memo. So I think I do that at a later date or a later part of your meeting tonight, so I'll be back.
I had a question. I missed the number. With the projected enrollment of 1993, that's a 10-1 count, Ryan? October
I'm
1?
sorry, say that one more time.
1993 was the 10-1 count?
Yes.
So you'd said that we would crest, so were we at 1950 in our estimate? Is that
1956.
1956 is what we estimated? So,
Yep.
okay, so that's 40 FTEs?
Yep.
Okay,
Yeah, yeah.
that's good.
We're gonna combine that too. Some of our payment comes in based on the charter school enrollment too, and so we're gonna wait on that number to get solidified this month as well. So we'll have some really tighter data for you next month.
Do your summary now.
Okay, all right. Also in my, in your board packet is a summary of the budget memo. Let me see if I can get my talking points up. As you know, well, you may not know, the October 6th, last Friday, ODE and the School Business Managers Association got together and did a Zoom presentation on the potential issues that ODE would be facing from a budget perspective. In September, there was an announcement that the revenue fixture for the biennium was likely going to be short by $373 million. And some of the changes in the economy and some of the stuff that we have seen with the federal government shutdown and some other issues revolving around Medicaid, Department of Agriculture, which impacts food services for us, have some concerns at the state level. And the governor has reacted by curtailing spending and tightening spending and slowing spending, as well as asking various departments, including the Department of Education, to put together some scenarios for the Legislative Financial Office review of potential cuts. And Ryan has mentioned earlier today that essentially, that's better said is that, you know, they've guaranteed us this certain amount of money in revenue in the state school fund, and yet they're concerned now that they're not going to be able to hit that number. And so that's a really good way of saying that. And so subsequently, they haven't decided that they're not going to hit that number yet, but I think it's worthwhile for us to spend some time in doing some planning to see what a reduction of revenue in the areas. In my memo here, I mentioned that we looked at a 5% reduction in revenue from the state school fund and a 10% reduction in revenue in the state school fund for both fiscal years, the current fiscal year that we're in and next fiscal year. The 10% analysis hasn't been completed yet, and we're still working on the 5% analysis, and it will be ready by your next board meeting. But initially what that is going to, if we were to have a face of a 5% cut, excuse me, that would result in about a 3.5% reduction in our total revenue in the general fund. And so that's, excuse me. So because of the legislative timing, I think it's important that we actually make some plans ahead of time and be ready for that. Now, it's not all gloom and doom because the state and the educational enterprise, ODE, we both have individual reserve funds. So there's the rainy day fund that has $1.87 billion in it that is available to all departments in the state of Oregon, and the Education Stability Fund has about $1 billion in it. So the Legislative Fiscal Office will meet in November. Interestingly enough, we will also see the second of the year's quarterly revenue forecast also in November, around the 17th of November, I believe is when that comes out. And so by that time, we will also have, you know, what our, you know, cut budget would actually look like if we had to implement that. And so, and then we would be ready to go, should, we get some real negative news. And, we'll give some options for this board and this body to decide on what the rest of the balance of the year is going to look like, and perhaps what we're going to have to do for next year as well.
Scott, just to be clear, you said it looks like it could be 3.5% of our entire budget?
Our general fund budget, yes.
Just our general fund budget?
Yeah, yeah. So, these funding cuts do have impacts on other various funds. But we have so many various funds, we'd have to do an analysis on each one of them.
And that shows us the state sources, is that right?
Yes, the state sources.
So-
And the state sources includes mostly, that's the state school fund. But we're expecting about $33 million in the state school fund. And that's the only thing at this point that we're going to get cut. The balance of that state sources money are other funds. We get a common school fund that gets put into there, plus another fund for special education services. That's why that number is a little higher on your report than 33 million.
And you're thinking possibly this year and next year, we're going to be effective with this at least?
Yeah, yes.
That's what they're preparing us for.
Is 3.5, the sky is falling, the high side, or is?
The
in what
governor
you
had
heard.
directed, at this point, the governor had directed the departments to cut in 1 percentage point increments up to 5%. So that up to 5% equates to just a little over 3% cut in our overall revenue, because we get revenue from other sources, property taxes and all that stuff, right? So it's not sky is falling, but it's a significant cut. And that's right now what the governor is directing the state departments to do.
We will see.
Yes, we will see.
Is there any projections on the local revenue dipping? Or are we getting to like a 06, 07, 08 era where we're gonna get into like where property taxes or properties are going into foreclosure? I mean, obviously that's kind of a different scenario than we're in right now. But if both of those hit us, it's a big deal. All right, it's not that it's not a big deal, it's a bigger deal, I guess.
It is a bigger deal, you're absolutely right. So if you remember back in those days, that drop hit very quick and very fast in terms of that, mostly because of the mortgage meltdown crisis that happened. So there, at least from what I'm reading, I haven't seen anything that is, relative to that. Home prices are still strong. I mean, we're starting to see slowing in the purchasing of that, but interest rates are starting to come down. So that's a big crystal ball question. But I don't foresee seeing such a precipitous drop that we saw in kind of 08, 09 type of year. when
And I
we
can
talked
tell you
about
from
that.
a housing industry banking, right, we're not anticipating any major collapses right now.
Good.
Right, it is crystal ball for sure, but, as you said, prices are staying steady, income staying pretty steady, properties are moving, so, yeah, I don't expect we'll have that in this cycle.
And that really is what caused that local revenue to drop off so much.
One last question, sorry.
No worries.
What was the number that we were basing the state school fund off for this budget? 'Cause it,
1,956 kids at roughly $10,000 a kid.
sorry, the state school fund, when Tina Kotak or whoever comes out and says.
11.36 billion.
11.36 million. And of that, we get 33 million and change.
Yep.
11.3 bill,
And that's what the governor is saying, she's not confident they're gonna hit.
okay. Thank you.
All right,
Thank you. Any other questions?
questions for Scott?
Go with that? Okay.
All right, thank you much. Up next is the superintendent's report.
All right, thank you, Executive Board of Directors, and I first want to, let me just hit pause here to make sure it doesn't go. Perfect. I just want to take a moment to recognize that a couple of weeks ago, as we all know, our community experienced a pretty catastrophic loss, and I just wanted to thank the Executive Board of Directors for your help, guidance, and support through the crisis response that we had to provide, not only to the family impacted, but also the students who were deeply impacted, and as well as the community who was deeply impacted. And I just want to state that I was extremely pleased with the way that our school district and its systems responded in an effort to support our community, our employees, and our kids. We were fortunate enough to be able to have a pretty early notice in what had occurred, and that allowed us that evening to contact not only our local counseling staff and school psychologists, but also to be able to execute what's called the flight team, where counseling services from around Clackamas County are able to come onto our campus. And so the very next morning, our library was full with professional support to be able to work with both students and employees through the grieving processes of this loss. And I just want to thank the Estacada community publicly. This community always continues to just impress me and humble me in ways that they show up to support our school district and our students and our community. And I also just want to say a big thank you to our employees who had to put a professional face on for that week and really work with some kids who were really struggling with and working through and comprehending that catastrophic loss, for some of whom have never been around things like that before. And I thought that our employees handled it tremendously, and I'm very proud of the way the Estacada School District handled it, as we now have moved back to deep learning again and right back to work. But the culture that's been created inside our school district, this was a true testament of that, and I'm just very proud of what we have done in order to support everybody through the process. I want to talk a little bit about the communication, as Director Walper had mentioned, and I need to be careful about how I say this, but I just want to be clear and transparent, not only to the board, but to the community as well, who may be wondering those same things. Why didn't we get notification from the school district about certain events? And the simple answer is we didn't have permission to do so from the parents. We did not have permission to talk about cause of death, and we didn't have permission to promote any activities that occurred, and that was explicitly through the wishes of the parents. And so because of that, we followed those orders out of respect to the family and those impacted. And I do know that there was a great event at the school district site. It was unscheduled and it was unplanned through our processes. But they were able to get that word out through their own vehicles and invited the people that they wanted to, and it wasn't our business to do that.
Okay, thank you.
You bet. You bet. But that being said, there's lots of opportunities, and the family is very involved in continuing to be engaged with a lot of the programs that this student was a part of. But again, a big public, on the record, thank you to our community for helping us work through that loss. To move to another issue that I want the board to be aware of, and you may have heard some of these complaints in different corners and facets, and that is we're having some issues with some of our students who are riding e-scooters, e-motorcycles, e-bikes around our district campus. These are primarily students. I've received now over double-digit complaints from community members, including some employees, about our students, both before and after school, on these electric things. We have reports of a student who sideswiped a side view mirror and broke it off of a parked car, as well as we have some students who are riding on the road, and then when they come to the stop sign, they hop onto the curb. They knocked a citizen over and then jump back onto the street. And so I wanted to just state publicly and make the board aware that the school district is aware of that. We are partnering with the city to do two things. One, educate parents on the laws and legal procedures of children on e-bikes, because it turns out that any student under the age of 16 riding an e-bike is illegally doing so. You must be 16 years of age in order to ride on one of those. And so if you see any child, middle school level or younger, they are illegally on the bike, and we do need help from our parents to better enforce that and monitor that, including the wearing of a helmet, which is not occurring in some cases as well. Secondly, aside from the education and communication that we're sending out to parents, we've also asked our school resource officer to begin monitoring that and enforcing that. And so you can expect a bigger police presence in that, and you may run into a citizen or someone whom you represent upset that their child may have been cited for illegally being on one of these things, but at the same time, we're all about safety and following the law, and these are things that we're gonna support in that process. And if you see anyone on there, I would remind them that they shouldn't be on there and/or follow the rules. I want to just show you very quickly a cool video that I thought the board would really appreciate to hear. Career technical education has long been a priority of the Executive Board of Directors. And just 2 weeks ago, we had the opportunity to partner with great companies such as M2 Integration, Northwest Technologies, and the timber company, I can't think, Solder Timber, and other local industries. And we were fortunate enough to be able to send over 100 of our students into the industrial park to learn more about local careers and technologies. And so if you'll bear with me, I would love for you to see this video.
At Estacada High School, we believe in preparing students for bright futures by connecting them to opportunities right here in our own community. Last week, more than 100 EHS students took part in Career Day at the Estacada Industrial Park. Just a few miles from their school, students were welcomed into local shops and work sites where the industries that fuel our region are hard at work every day. They met with electricians, timber professionals, the Glaziers Union, manufacturing crews, and construction teams, getting an inside look at the careers that keep our local economy strong. For many students, this was their first chance to step foot in these workplaces, ask questions directly to professionals, and see how their skills and interests could translate into real careers close to home. These local partnerships matter. When students see that high-wage, high-demand jobs exist right here in Estacada, they can begin to picture themselves not only finding success, but also giving back to the same community that raised them. A huge thank you goes out to the local businesses, trades, and industry partners who open their doors to our students. Your support helps us prepare the next generation of workers, leaders, and innovators. Together, we're helping Estacada students imagine their futures and explore the many paths available after high school.
Anyways, I thought that was a pretty cool opportunity. I will tell you that the feedback from the businesses in the business park was resoundingly positive. Again, I hope this is just an additional step in the right direction for us to build bigger partnerships so that we can prepare our students and have a pathway either from high school straight to a high-paid, high-demand job, or be able to go to community college or other places that are able to fulfill and further their aspirations when it comes to that. So I thought that was great. Any questions on that? Okay. The next thing I want to share with you here is our discipline data. Cell phones is obviously a hot topic, but I've been telling you for the majority of the school year that we're off to one of our best starts on record. And I've got some data to prove and validate that we're just crushing it in terms of being able to build great relationships. I talked about culture with the crisis and how we work through that. So if you see this graph, this is a year-over-year graph when it comes to discipline referrals, suspensions, all of the above. And the orangish peachish graph is last year's student discipline data, and the bright green graph is this year's student discipline data in current time. And you can see here that we have really reduced student behavior incidents, violation of policy and/or school rules, and it's something that our entire organization is extremely proud of, and that comes from building great relationships. It also comes from just a great student body who's continuing to improve the culture of their school experience as well. And what's most impressive to me in this data point is this is the new year of the cell phone law. And if you would have asked what my prediction was at the beginning of the year, I would have thought it would have gotten off this chart as we battled cell phones with students. But I am pleasantly pleased and surprised to see how kids have adjusted to this new rule, and we are seeing the benefits of kids not having their face in front of a screen a lot of the time. And so it's going very well, and I just wanted to show you data to validate that we really are off to an exceptional start. This is just a fun fact and predictable. This is also our data on the times when we have student behavior spiking, and the hour of 11 to 1 o'clock is when we're seeing the most significant cell phone violations and physical altercations. And so knowing that allows us to adjust towards that and again continue to support that. The board has a sheet of our reconfiguration timeline updated. As I informed you also a couple of weeks ago, the school district has made a determination to pivot our reconfiguration plan into a two-phase plan, different than a one-size-do-it-all plan. And our rationale behind that is twofold. First and foremost, we still continue, as you saw in the enrollment report, to have an increasing student enrollment, which is continuing to put pressures into our school district's capacity. The capacity that is most at threat right now is River Mill Elementary School, which currently possesses 522 students. If you parcel out DCLA at the high school level and the 18 students attending CCC full-time on their campus, River Mill has more students than students at Estacada High School that attend on a regular basis. And so because of that, we're growing increasingly concerned about our ability to even handle the capacity this current school year. If you look at the enrollment at Clackamas River Elementary School, it's 398 students. So that disparity continues to grow. We had 10 more students move into River Mill just this week as new homes continue to get finished and new kids come into our school district. And so right now, Jennifer Berman and myself and a few other leaders are taking a deeper look at maybe creating a cutoff period where we might actually start sending all new kids to Clackamas River, no matter where they live, because of capacity issues. And we're also looking at grade level breakdown because our implementation of phase 1, which is to merge K2 at River Mill and 3-5 at Clackamas River, potentially, if we get any new 3rd through 5th graders, it would be to our best interest to have them start at Clackamas River because that's where they will be next year. And so we're going to continue moving forward with the merger of the two elementary schools, which I think will have resounding academic benefits as well as capacity benefits in that process. We have chosen to pause the secondary merger of moving 7th and 8th grade to the high school. And our primary reason for that is, again, the middle school population came in this year higher than what we had anticipated. And so the consequences of us making the secondary move next year, like originally planned, is the high school building's capacity is at 1,000. Moving 7th and 8th grade next year into the high school building puts this building's capacity of real students at 968, giving us room for really growth of about 50 or 60 more kids, which we predict we will have in the next 4 or 5 years. And so rather than trying to be harmful about forcing this here with the potentiality of having to do something again in a year or two, we felt like it was to our best interest to pause on the secondary and do a deeper study into the enrollment and population trends, as well as re-engage with our community about how we can work together to solve this problem. Because there's no way around it. At some point, we are going to run out of space. This is the district's best effort to replace kids into different spots to balance things out. But the data is telling us moving 7th and 8th grade over would fill this building quicker than we had expected it would do. And so that's kind of our rationale and why in our reconfiguration update. So with that being said, the handout that you have in front of you is our updated reconfiguration timeline to make sure we still continue to hit our benchmarks with the 2-phase plan. And one of the things that we've moved up that's of note, and this comes from our employees' voice, particularly our elementary school teachers, is we had originally planned to notify elementary school teachers what building and classroom they would be inhabiting next year in the month of March and April. They have requested, because of just some anxieties and better understanding of getting their mindsets around where they're going to be notified sooner than that. And so through the work of these things and through the work of our unions and human resources and work with our principals and our director of teaching and learning, we have made the determination to move that up to November and December. And so originally we had moved it back because we didn't want the disruption of where people go, and we really want to focus on our number one priority, and that's high levels of teaching and learning. But we also believe by moving this here, once everybody knows, then we can get back to high levels of teaching and learning. And so that's the biggest one to note. The only thing I did want to share with the board is our plans to continue to renovate the front office of the high school for safety reasons is going to continue as originally planned, because one, it's just what we need to do from a safety perspective, and it's to our best interest to move forward with that, but it also prepares us for whatever next looks like, either phase 2 or another variation of phase 2 in terms of how that goes. I'll pause for a second if there are any questions from the board on that.
Yeah. Stage 2, you're saying high school construction. And
Yeah.
last board meeting, we asked for information as to why we went from $400,000 to $750,000. And I think we are all waiting for that.
Yeah, I don't
You
know
got
if we
anything?
Okay. Okay. I can do that. Because of this movement to phase 2, some of those things are no longer necessary, like the reconfiguration of the library and this room that we sit in, and we can delay that for another year. The conversation I remember us having was talking about the price of the front office and either going with GMCG
CMGC.
or doing the project ourselves from a private perspective, looking at the price piece of that. And we haven't been able to get back yet from our CMCG what the 2x4s and the price and the cost of all of that looks like, because we're depending on them to kind of do the engineering and architecture of that so we can be approved. But once completed with that, my intention was to come back to the board to say, here's how much this costs from them, and here's how much we could do it from somebody else. And then you would be able to look at the details of what that scope looks like.
Well, my concern, because I'm the one that asked the question, is, we're saying now, we said 400,000. We're now saying 750,000.
Yep.
I'm afraid we're gonna get 6 months down the road and we're gonna say, no, it's gonna be $1.3 million.
Yeah.
Okay, so I wanna know how we came up with the 400,000 and what we've done to get to the 750
Yep.
and how we did that, and have a little bit of assurance
Yeah.
so that hopefully all of us feel the same way. We don't wanna get, it looks bad in the community if we say we're gonna do something on YouTube for 400,000, and then one meeting later, we come back and say, well, sorry, it's gonna be 750 now. I'd have gotten fired for that, me personally.
Yeah.
Okay?
Well, you might have to for me, but
No, I'm not threatening or.
And I think some of that too, John, and we can get more details on it, but part of the change there was when we looked at student population and which side the high school would occupy and which side the junior high would occupy. That switched based on number of classrooms. And so that changes that. Bathroom locations, there was gonna need to be significantly more work on the bathrooms based on how everything was gonna get cut up at that point in time. Another one was the library, of building that out, filling in the pit as a commons area. That wasn't part of the initial, analysis. And then I think the other part, and I'm blanking on it right now, locker rooms.
Yes.
And so the locker room configuration at that point in time was not part of that original scope. And so when you look at the current locker rooms that are essentially beside the main gym, redoing those, because we would need to then have essentially separate locker rooms for junior high and separate for high school. That wasn't part of the original scope, and that's how we got that
So that's
price
where the
change.
4 to 7 came in?
Correct.
Yeah, I mean,
Who is doing these estimates?
Yeah,
That's what I
Great
wanna
question. You're
figure
looking
out.
at them, and this is what I also explained to you in the chat, was that these were not bona fide estimates. This is what we started with a ballpark, and actually there were qualified, Chair Rydell and Corey Rydell, who's very educated in pricing, and that took a unofficial walk through our stuff and kind of gave us some basic prices of what it would look like. And then as we made that switch, like Chair Rydell was talking about, and we started to locate everything else that was like, oh, we gotta do that, oh, we gotta do that, I just, in my own appraisals, which I did share with you,
and I appreciate that.
came up with $750,000. Could it be 1.3 million? Yes. Could it be $401,000, $400,001? Possibly. But as your superintendent, I looked at all of this and I said, we have to pump the brakes.
Right.
This is what I think it's gonna be. And this is why I'm coming to you saying we pumped the brakes.
So we still have a lever to stop construction?
Correct.
Because we approved this
You have a-
contractor to look at it, but not to
Yeah,
do it.
well, we haven't approved anything,
We approved that contracting method
but that's
last
for
month.
the seismic grant.
That was just seismic, okay.
Yes.
So this
That has nothing to do
construction
with
has
that.
no vehicle at this point.
Correct.
Correct.
Okay.
That is correct.
The thing that I'm afraid of is that we shoot from the hip. We, as a group, shoot from the hip and throw out a number, and then the public hears it, and then we come back in 30 days, and
Has the public heard that number?
Yeah, I don't think we actually went public
I
with
think you just made
the
it
estimate of the
public.
400,000. That was more of a, this is where we're at. Because if we think back again, the timing of this was, if we know we need to do reconfiguration, the opportunity to go out for a smaller bond, there was a time frame in there that said, if we're gonna do it, we have to do it now, February or whatever that was this year. And so it was a quick look to say, if we're gonna move the front office, if we're gonna reconfigure classrooms, what do we think that would cost? That was the scope of, do we need to go out for a bond, or consider going out for a bond, or do we think we could do this more in-house? So
Yeah.
that was a very quick, not for, this is the final number that it's gonna cost us. That was an internal, this is what we
Yeah.
think we can do it for.
Yes.
To do the basic, move this, reconfigure. And it was a very preliminary, but that number really truly internally was to say, no, we don't have to go out for a $2 million bond to get this thing done. For various reasons.
So most of these at this point are wants versus needs, unless we do stage 2.
Say that, what do you mean?
This list we don't need for the elementary reconfig.
Yeah, we don't have to spend, I mean, technically, we don't have to spend $1 for elementary reconfig. But
Correct.
if we move forward with phase 2, we will need to
Right,
do
those were
all
part
those
of the
things.
high school piece.
Correct, yep, you're right.
Yeah, but we never came out and said, this is what it's gonna cost to reconfigure, right? We had internal conversations
well,
around.
I admitted we shot from the hip.
A little bit,
Yeah, no, not a little bit, we shot from the hip.
Well, I don't agree with that interpretation.
I don't either. I think
Yeah.
that the scope of what we are planning has changed significantly with redoing
Yeah.
locker rooms, adding bathrooms, right?
Yeah.
The most expensive things in this are the bathrooms, locker rooms, those types of things, right?
Yeah.
Because you gotta get into the ground, you gotta, I don't need to go through all of that. And so again, the initial number was just to say, do we need to get a bond or do we not need to get a bond?
Yeah.
That was where the initial number came from, not that this is what it's gonna cost us.
Right.
It was just a feasibility.
Yeah.
Is
And
this
we
something
would
we can
still
do
be
in-house?
close to probably that 400,000 if we didn't do all the extra things that
Yes,
when they did the walkthrough and was like, if we're actually gonna separate
Yeah.
in a better way long-term,
yeah,
Sounds like there's an internal
There's-
question that didn't get wrapped up on.
Sounds like.
yes.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
But really, our conversations about the construction was in such infant stages, because you were all a part of the development of that really, you say shoot from the hip, I say we were ballparking, because that's just where we were at.
Yeah, same to me.
Okay, fair enough, yep,
Okay, thank you.
yep.
So just to clarify, moving forward, what is the plan? I mean, obviously, we're phase one, phase two.
Yep,
We're still gonna get pricing with moving the office and
yes,
said things we've talked about.
yep,
And then at that point, it comes back to us and internally with the state budget and everything else going on,
yep.
we have to figure out where we're going.
Yeah.
That's
And
correct.
that-
And we couldn't move forward without your approval in that process. And I'm hoping that within the next month or two, we'll get good costs on what, because someone is actively doing it as we speak, getting us costs. And then really, there will be three decisions the board will be presented with, and that is to stick with the contractor who is already hired to do our seismic project, which is separate, or decline that option because we talked about overhead costs and some of those things, and go with either a separate construction company, or it's just more money than what we had ballparked. And the reason why we ballparked too is because I wanted to make sure our capital construction fund could handle it while still being able to replace a boiler if something fails or something of that nature, which is where the ballpark came from. And so it's so much that we just say no, and we can't do it. And so those will be the options presented. We're just, again, the board was included so early in this stage because I think it's the right thing to do, that this is where we're at.
I'll just add that in your report, you just shared that River Mill's over 500 students.
Yep,
I mean, we're gonna have to do something.
got to do something.
I mean, that,
Yeah, we have to do something, but
Yeah.
also, if the boiler breaks, we need the cash.
Yeah.
We've had that front office there, how it is forever.
Yep.
So I think it's smart that you're thinking about, we still have a lot of level fives.
Yes,
Yeah.
And so when you get the
Yeah.
numbers in, we're gonna have to think
yeah,
hard
we
about it.
can't empty the tank.
Right,
hopefully people are listening.
Yep.
right.
I thought this was a great conversation.
Yeah, absolutely,
And it's what we're supposed to do in public. And
Yep.
so it's wonderful. Yep. Okay, I'm almost done. Great questions. Okay, so reconfiguration is taken care of. We talked about the OSBA board workshop, but I would like to thank Chair Rydell and Vice Chair Johnston for participating in that. I really enjoy representing Estacada. I think we satisfied the potential budget cuts that are coming. I really like the phrase that this is not the time to panic, it is the time to plan. And that's what the Estacada School District is doing right now, is just building plans. And they're gonna be multifaceted, so if one lever gets pulled at the state, we'll have a plan for that, and we'll be able to execute it on the moment that it comes. And the last one, which will be, I think, a fun hot topic, is as we talk about capacity and as we talk about growth inside our school district, particularly at elementary school levels and the junior and high school, one of the things that we've had some issues with at the beginning of this year, more so than ever before, is some conflicts with homeschool students. And let me give a couple specific examples. About 3 or 4 weeks ago, a homeschool parent just dropped off her kid at River Mill, or at one of the elementary schools, to just go participate in recess with the general education students, or just randomly dropped them off and said, I want my kid to go to PE today. And when asked to fill out the legally required documents and to cover ourselves, both liably and for emergencies, they refuse to do so because they don't want to have a government student ID number and some of those things. In addition to that, as our class sizes increase because we have more students, In the past, we have accepted homeschool students to participate in career technical education, music, other elective opportunities. And the problem is our class size threshold with general education students is getting to a level that including homeschool students as a part of that is putting us over the threshold in some cases, for some teachers, over 30 students. And so I've been working with our team to work through some, not policy, but they're called administrative regulations, which is like underneath, one step underneath policy. And we're really trying to, and we've mirrored what Westland Wilsonville does, because they also have a similar situation in their school district as well. And so what we're enacting at the beginning of second semester, and I also just want to say this publicly, is starting the second semester, any student who is a homeschool student may participate in up to 2 elective classes inside the Estacada School District. And the reason why 2 is the magic number is because at the elementary level, we have PE and we have music, 2. At the middle school level, students in their master schedule have the opportunity for 2 elective classes. And at the high school, freshmen, sophomores, and juniors also have 2 elective opportunities, and then the senior year is a different experience, but we're gonna stick and maintain with 2 at this point. And so we're putting it back on our homeschool families that they are still welcome to participate in a few things, but at the same time, if they want to extend their child's experience for more than 2 periods, they might as well just join us as a full-time student in the Estacada School District. Now, the only asterisk I want to make sure you're aware of is there's state law that says that any child who lays their head, is the legal terminology, inside our school district but goes to homeschool or goes to a charter school, we have to, by law, allow them to participate in OSAA athletics. And so, any homeschool student is welcome by law, and just welcome, to continue to participate in our extracurricular activities. But when it comes to some of the electives, we're going to just limit that to 2. And there is one other caveat, because I know we're a big career technical education community as well, is the overhaul that we've done in our CTE programs, agriculture, manufacturing, electrical engineering, and diesel technology. They're so popular that they are pumped with our kids. And so we are no longer going to be allowing homeschool students to participate in those as well. Because once you reach a certain class size threshold, some of those locations also become unsafe for the instructor to work with while we're working with welders and saws and, big engines, hanging on hoists, I think is the correct terminology for that. And so I just wanted to make the board aware of that. Because as we implement this new way of practice, I do anticipate a little bit of pushback from families who don't want to send their kids here, but definitely want to cherry pick the things they like about this school.
And Ryan, I appreciate again that aligning that with what our enrolled students get from an elective standpoint.
That's right.
We're not offering less to homeschool kids when it comes to electives.
Yes, thank you.
It's the exact same that a fully enrolled student gets. So, and it is important that's
Yes.
called. And I think the other part too is, and I know you alluded to it, but also ensuring that if your child is taking any classes within the district, you are in the system.
You must
You have to be,
enroll
we
in the
have to know
system.
when your student's here, we have to know how to get a hold of their family, we have to know, where they're
Yes.
supposed to be, from a safety and security standpoint.
Yep.
And so that's non-negotiable,
Yep.
from a board. I think the board would agree with that as well, that we need to know who you are and where you're supposed to be.
Yeah.
And now we have a rule that our secretaries can point to when working with those families to say, you can't.
Yeah.
Is the expectation they come to it every day it's offered, or they just drive by and knock them out of the car? Today's the day?
The expectation is for them to follow, this is new too, is to follow all attendance rules and regulations that every other kid has to follow.
So how do you deal with potentially a homeschool kid punching a in-school kid?
That's
What
a
happens?
great question. I'll have to get back to you on that. I mean, I'd like to think that we would follow the same rules and,
But
you know,
do
any,
you have any ability to enforce anything? I guess.
We can certainly enforce out-of-school suspension, because we can say, you can't come. And if they drop them off, we make them pick them back up. But like after-school detentions and things of the lower level, like
Right.
the fight's an easy one, but
Yeah,
like,
just a random example.
yeah, but a lower level infraction would be a little trickier, yeah. But I'm confident our principals are probably answering this question for me.
Yeah, they probably are done with it.
Yeah, sorry,
Tax
principals.
Last question about the homeschool kids.
Yeah,
Do we get paid 2/7 of a kid if they're there 2/7 of the day?
yes, we do. Yep,
If they're in the system.
if they're in the system.
Yeah, as a big parent choice advocate myself, there's no reason why we shouldn't know who they are when they're on our campus. Like it just seems, it's too much of a liability issue for the kid and for our district.
Yes,
It's irresponsible for everyone
Yeah.
involved.
yes,
Agreed.
yeah. Just for fun, one of the parents who dropped off the kids just handed the secretary a sticky note and said, if there's a problem, just call this.
Yeah, like can't do that, like that can't happen.
That's awesome.
That is your superintendent's report.
On that note,
I've got one question.
Okay.
It's a program I haven't heard about in a while, which usually means it's a good thing. How is the dual enrollment looking this year? How are the
Excellent.
numbers?
It's excellent. We have 18 students in the program. Jen might be able to answer this question when it's her turn, but I think we have 11 students as seniors and 8 students as juniors, or it's flip-flopped.
Oh,
But
so it's 18 total.
18 total. Yep. Right?
And
Yeah.
Does that match the offered seats, or did we
No,
bring that down?
we've budgeted, we have
20.
a budget slot for 50.
Oh, 50.
25 each class, so it's, and I imagine it'll flow like this, yeah.
Okay, thanks.
okay, any other questions? All right, thank you Superintendent Carpenter.
My pleasure.
All right, up to item F, reports and presentations. We have the Division 22. We've all been anxiously awaiting the Division 22 report. Come on down, Jennifer Berman.
Back on my seat, I've just been on the edge of it.
No, I got some exciting reports for you tonight. Okay, well, good evening. We're gonna start tonight with our Division 22 standards report for the 24-25 school year. So talking about last year and how we did. And just a quick reminder, Division 22 are standards, rules, and laws that every district is required to follow, and we kind of think of it as the floor, so everyone kind of has the same level playing field to get started with. So some of it's pretty bare minimum, other things are a little bit of a push. In true ODE Division 22 fashion, they changed our priorities for student success. And so it's now in 5 different categories. We have over 50 rules in those 5 categories. And they did change some things up on us of what they decided to have us look at and make sure that we are following this year. And I will report on how we did. And here is just a little breakdown of, in those 5 areas, some of the big requirements that they fall under. Some good reading for you sometime. And I also linked all of those here if you would like to go into depth about what each one of those rules are and exactly what the law says we need to be doing. Some good reading for you. So part of our accountability is being here tonight to present to the district school board, and we will also be putting it on our website, what our findings are for last year. And then we also have a lot of reports that we send to ODE as part of our accountability to this. So why we do this is to make sure that across the state of Oregon, we do have that level playing field, that our students are receiving high-quality education with a lot of the different programs and things. If you did decide to dig into all of the standards, you would see how it has a big variety of things, all the way from what we're doing in our kindergarten classrooms to what is happening senior year, graduation, all of those kind of things. So just providing lots of opportunities and making sure that we are giving our students what they need. If we are not in compliance of anything, we do have to do a corrective action plan and put that together, get it approved by the district, and quickly get into compliance if there is areas where we are not. So for this last school year, we did have a couple of waivers. Again, that also will be a waiver for this year, so we won't see it until 27, 28, a lot of it is around just some graduation requirements, making sure there's some essential skills and some other more testing type factors that they haven't quite, they keep putting it out there, but they keep pushing it back, I think, just because there is not a real good set of ways to do it that'll be effective yet. So it's coming. Some of the revisions that we worked on last year, and you probably heard me talk about some things that, in the past that are coming, but we have our K-12 social emotional program, and we added to 912 the personal finance and the higher education career pathway classes. And so those are in place and ready to go at our high school. And then we had some just differences in some of the diplomas and wording around that, how we're communicating it. If you ever would like to dig into some of that, we've been using the Teaching and Learning Department's website to just be kind of a place where all of this is held. If you ever want to look up graduation requirements, different options for diplomas, all those kind of things, those are there. Another big piece that was in effect was that we have to use ODE's opioid prevention lessons, and we have to actually use their lessons for 7th, 8th, and 6, 7, 8, and at least once in high school. So we went through our health adoption process last year, and we made that kind of part of our program now. It's written in, we've got it in there, and moving forward, that should be something that we'll be good with. So looking at the Estacada School District for last year, we were in compliant in all areas, with no areas that we had anything we had to do a corrective action on. And I just broke those down into the 5 categories. I didn't want to have you look through each and every single one of them, but they are linked in there if you are interested in that. So we have no corrective action at this time. Looking ahead for next year, there is some new assessments coming. So we've been slowly having the option to use some of these things. They are now going to be part of our added assessment list coming down the road. And we have to, we are gonna spend next year, we have to come up with new administrator standards. There's new standards out there. We need to make sure that our evaluation system of our administrators is in compliance with those new standards, which is something that we will be working on to just some tweaks to the difference in the new updated standards. Any questions on that? It was a really quick version of it.
I like that speech.
That's
I had
how
a feeling you'd
that's
like
how
that
22
speed.
goes, right? So,
Yep.
Thank you for linking everything in there though too,
Yep.
because it is a
important.
look back, and ultimately we're in compliance. We're not out of compliance. That's the big kicker that we need to make sure that we're understanding. But yes, thank you.
Yep, and the actual paperwork for ODE that talks about me saying we're officially in compliance will be linked on my website if you ever need to look at it.
Would you mind going back to slide 14? 13, sorry. That one.
Yes,
So these are their pillars on the left, right?
so under high-quality learning experiences for all students, there's 15 rules or laws in there, and so we were compliant in all 15. That's the way I set up.
Is this the one that we always used to be out of compliance with the library?
Yes. And we are in compliance. And I do just want to recognize Jennifer Berman and her leadership on this. This is 2 years in a row now that we've been compliant and everything, and it's really a great testament to her leadership and work into this. And the reason why it's so short is because Jen has us dialed in.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions?
Okay,
All right. I think you're up again for the
yeah,
integrated
let's
programs.
go to the next one. There we go. Okay, I was just here in the spring talking about integrated programs because we had completed our 4-year application, which was approved, and we had a 2-year budget that was approved. And we also have an updated 2-year budget for that did have some cuts to it. But this is our annual report for last year. So this is just what we did last year. Very similar, you're gonna see some similar pieces. Data's a little bit more updated, and I'll walk you through that. But we have to hit those markers, we set goals, and we have to kind of talk about the narrative of each of those goals each year to make sure that we're being held accountable to how we're spending the money and you know what it looks like. So a reminder too, with the integrated programs, they've now combined a lot of things. So we have the SIA funds, the Measure 98 high school success. We have early literacy now part of this, and they've just combined them all into one. So when we say integrated programs, it's our big state grants all together. With that, we have those requirements where you're gonna hear the annual review along with just every time we have to do a biennium report for the budget and the 4-year part with the narratives and just our assurances, so just a quick thing. The first question they want us to do is what were kind of the highlights and the things that we showed growth in, and one of the areas I chose to pick for this one was our K-3 literacy program. So part of our early literacy grant, we've been doing some really intentional work that's research-based. We've been seeing some good results. And while I put this in as a win, you'll see when we get to our data that there's a different marker they use to judge us by. But I put this in because we have other standardized tests besides SBAC that we are using that are showing our kids making huge gains, we're closing gaps, and teachers are noticing when they come to the next grade level, they are more ready to read than we have ever been before. And that's through intentional professional development, intentional curriculum. We have an amazing instructional coach for early literacy who is in classrooms every day supporting teachers in our systems. So that's a huge win, and you will see too how that's also gonna end up being an area we gotta keep an eye on, and I'll explain that later. Our second piece is just some challenges and barriers, and it's gonna be the exact same one I presented last time, it's our attendance. And again, as we are a community that's heading into hunting season, and people like to do fall vacations, and we're a 4-day school week, like we are just gonna get hit hard on this one, and I can tell you we have awesome attendance teams in place. We are tracking kids that we feel like it's more than just a family vacation or a hunting trip. There's some chronic absenteeism that is a problem, and we are keeping an eye on those kids, making sure they have what they need to be at school and the supports that their families might need as well. So that data is all mixed in one. It's hard to separate that out, but our principals and our attendance teams keep a good job of keeping an eye on who are the ones we really need to make sure that we're keeping in, giving them what they need. Any questions on those two narratives?
Just, is there, like, the internal assessment, we run into this all the time at my schools as well. So our internal data looks amazing, and then they take state tests, and it's not the same. Is there an alignment feature with the internal measurements that we're using?
So we've actually gotten better about closing that gap.
Yeah.
And so we have better alignment when we talk about like our summatives and formative assessments. But even with the one I was talking about with early literacy, that's a standard at like DIBELS and DRA. Those are standardized tests. They're not internally created or anything that could be a little bit more biased.
Yeah.
And they're showing some really good gains that we might not be seeing on an SBAC type test. So that's where the gap is happening between two standardized tests.
Is that the mode on how we state test kids then? Well, it's for a
I
different
could go
conversation,
on,
so,
yeah,
yeah, I
that's a
know,
whole
I forget
different
it.
conversation.
It doesn't make sense.
There's
We-
some
we
interesting.
understand your pain,
Yeah,
what you're saying.
okay.
Yeah.
Yep, yeah.
Thanks, you don't need to
And
go
this is
into
not an Cicada issue. This is a state of Oregon issue.
national issue.
And a national issue, yeah. And if you look at states that have different scores and higher scores on that, there's some very big different factors
Yeah.
than what we're experiencing here in Oregon, so,
Thanks, Jen.
yeah. So here is our data on the markers that we are held accountable to that, and we are meeting, and again, all of our goals except for attendance, we are a little off. But I wanted you to look at that third grade language arts proficiency. So we hit the mark right on the mark, which makes me a little worried because we've had a bigger gap, but I can tell you what the factor was, and I put it in there, 79% participation rate. So when we're looking at those internal ones, kids don't get to opt out of that because we have them at school every day and they are gonna take these tests. So we're getting the whole picture of every student in our system. SBAC, parents have the option to opt out at any point, even after they've completed the test. And that is something that is problematic for us and is getting worse. So I'm trying to be more of an advocate with parents of why these high-stake tests are important for our kids. It's good for them. How many times in life are you gonna have to take this high-stakes test? And these are good practice opportunities, and it gives us a better picture of how we're doing, gives the state a better picture of how we're doing, because I do not think that's a full reflection of where we're at, but that is where we are with our participation rate. And so now we are gonna have to probably watch those numbers and figure out what we need to do if that drops.
Jennifer, is it the state that sets that goal, or is it us?
The state sets it with us. They look at our current data and they give us progressive targets to hit. And we have different gaps. There's kind of like the standardized one. There's one if we're doing really good, we kind of bump into a different category. But they work with us to set it up based on our current data.
So when we say, you know, we want to get 89% and only get 87, next year, 26, 27, do they stay with the 89 or do they up it a little bit, even though we didn't attain what our goal was?
It does increase a little bit every year,
Would you
which is
say-
also challenging because it's a whole different cohort of students that we're comparing it to.
Okay, I'm sure the closer you get to 100%, it's just a percentage of one that goes up.
Right.
Yeah, because continuous improvement.
Yep. And
Thank
being
you.
smaller, every student counts for probably more than you would see in some of the bigger districts.
And in that specific one, the goal was 87, and we got 89, so we beat the goal, correct?
Right.
Yep,
And
So
your,
next year they'll ask for a lot more.
yes.
in your experience, are parents letting their kids get out of the testing because they're worried about, like, them being nervous, or they don't test well, or, like, stress?
I take every single opt-out form, and if I was to take a poll on when they show up, it's after the first day students tested. They don't want to take the test, they go home, parents opt them out. That's when I get majority, is very last minute, and then I have to go in and erase their results, and it's a lot of work. That's the honest
So
truth.
what, they come home and the kids are stressed out or tired or something, and then mom and dad say, we don't want them to participate in day 2?
That's typically when I get the most opt-out forms, is after state testing has started. So back, I think, 3 or 4 years ago, the state of Oregon made it so you had a certain date you had to turn in your opt-out form, or too bad, you gotta take it. And that has now gone away, and they can turn it in at any point in time, even if they've finished the test and turn it in after the fact. I have to go in and delete their test manually.
But we don't have any visibility into why they're opting out.
Nope, all
They
you're
just-
doing
it's
is
just a-
signing a form.
amount.
The only one is science. Science, they have to provide some explanation why and what their alternative is going to be. But for math and language arts, it's just a signature on a page. And if, I don't even have to verify whose signature that is, not page.
Kids don't listen to that.
Well, thanks for watching the board meeting.
I think we're probably pretty safe.
So I'll
Maybe
just,
they should watch more.
yeah, I'll say I'm not a huge believer in one high-stake test. I loved what you said, because it actually does provide us guidance on where kiddos need to be, almost in addition to our internal assessments. But I would say this, if we could share, more people can watch this just to understand that it may just be that we're at 80% participation, that we're just meeting our goal. If we're at 95 participation, maybe that number is we're at 42%. Maybe it's at a much higher goal. So if we can get more kids and families to understand how this impacts us at the state view, I can't run around with a flag and say, hey, we got a test, but.
But the other thing too, I think from a parent standpoint, to understand that if we don't have the participation, we could be solving for a problem that doesn't exist, right? And so it takes those
Yes.
resources away from where we could be focused elsewhere.
Yes.
Because the state is saying, based on your performance, you need to focus here, when that might not be the area of most importance. So I think that's my biggest takeaway here is better data helps us be better providers of education.
Yep, and target what students really need.
Yep.
What is the state's angle in allowing people to opt out of this?
That's a good question.
it just it doesn't even cross my mind as a parent, like, yeah, you're gonna encounter a bunch of hard stuff in your life, like, I'm sorry you're tired and you're stressed out, but get over it and go to day 2. Like, what the
We're
heck is
Oregon.
wrong?
I think that's the problem.
Take a trip to Salem and talk to the elected
I
officials
just
and make the rules.
I'm
goes
just
all
having
the-
the hardest time, like, even digesting this.
It goes all the way back, though, to the battles, if you'll recall, of like Common Core standards, and when SBAC was adopted by Oregon, the only way they could even get it to pass the legislation was to give the parent lobbies opportunities, because Common Core was so conflicting, or so,
The day 2 drop kind of points to most of the reason.
yes, you're right,
Thoughtful in advance
Yeah.
or talked about or
correct,
considered beliefs. It was,
Yeah.
I don't want to do this tomorrow.
that's right.
Yeah.
Just to add, as a parent choice advocate, this fell on our bucket. It is not a parent choice piece.
Yeah.
This is
Yeah,
not
for
in
sure.
the wheelhouse. This
They
is
don't
out.
wanna
That's
do it.
Any other questions?
No, I'm good, thank you.
Great job.
Thanks for your time.
I was gonna say pertinent, but I figured I'd leave that out, so. Any other questions, or do you have more?
Nope, I'm
Okay.
done, unless you have anything for me.
I don't
Great
think so.
job.
Okay,
All right, thank you very much.
thank you.
Thanks, Jen.
Thanks.
All right, on to item G, which is discussion, which is none. Hearing of citizens for action items.
No, none.
Action items, the consent agenda includes a package of one or more items to be voted on as a unit. However, if any board member is not in favor of one or more agenda items and prefers to take separate action, request of the chair anytime prior to the vote, we'll remove that item for a separate vote. So let's move on to the consent agenda.
Chair Riddell, I move to accept the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion on the consent agenda?
Do we need to add the word and amended?
That's, I was just.
That's not in the consent agenda.
Oh, yeah, you're right, wrong spot.
But thanks
We
for
got rid of it
double
at the beginning.
checking. All right, no discussion, all in favor, raise your right hand. On to item K for Cisco Spring Valley Dairy and United Salad Company.
Chair Rydell, I move to approve Cisco, Spring Valley Dairy, and United Salad Company as the SKA School District's food vendors for the school year 2025-26.
Second.
Moved, seconded, and third.
Little discussion.
Little
Yeah.
discussion.
The intricacies of the milk market, I've been enlightened by a certain wrestling coach from the, that's on the SKA staff, which is awesome. But just a question, I know that like Dairy Gold had an issue with chocolate milk, maybe it was last year or the year before. Obviously, we're not with Dairy Gold right now.
It was the sealer.
Yeah.
It was the machine that seals the containers.
But in the event that, say, Spring Valley has a sealer issue on their chocolate milk or their white milk, we have the ability to pivot and go to Dairy Gold or Alpenrose or somebody else. Is
It's
that
all,
correct?
it's all through the state, and the state is the one who determines that. Just recently, we had a recall for something, and, corn dogs.
Oh, the corn dog issue.
Yep, and so, good job.
Make me hungry for a corn dog.
I know, I like corn dogs. Disappointed.
And so, we were able to give that back, and the state reconciled that through their own process, which is the very same process that we're approving here, yeah. It's all really state-run, yeah.
Okay.
Well, and to be fair, the dairies, like, they use each other's resources.
Yes.
So the sealer that was broken was actually Alpenrose's. But, you know, whatever.
That's awesome that you know that.
They're all co-
Yeah.
Because this coach happens to call me too, so.
You'll know
Every
more
once in a
about milk and cheese than
Cheese.
you'll ever desire.
Fair.
Okay, cheese pairing has changed my life, I'm just gonna say that though. I didn't even think it was a real thing, but it is.
All right. Moved, seconded, discussed. All in favor, raise your right hand.
Motion carries.
On to item L for the construction excise tax.
Did you want to do a presentation?
We need to put it on the table first.
Chair Rydell, I move to adopt resolution 2526 to increase construction excise tax in alignment with state published levels.
It's not on here, it's right here.
Second.
Moved and seconded, and I believe, Scott, you've got some info for us, or Ryan?
Yep. So first of all, I want to state, in the summertime, at some point, we had talked about bringing this back up to the table. And really, I'm excited for the discussion in terms of where we want to go. At the end of the day, it's entirely the board's discretion of how we want to move forward with this. And then I'll give it to Scott, and maybe Scott, you can do a Reader's Digest version of kind of the history of this, because we do have some new board members. This has been more contentious in the past than it has been in recent times. Up to and including one time we had someone pass a hat around because we denied a claim for this, and so they put an offering thing around. That was one of my highlights of my experience here. So, but history and context is important here because it should weigh in how we make this decision. So go ahead.
Okay. In the early 2000s, 2005, 2006, we saw some districts, particularly smaller districts, similar in size and location to Estacada, that type of district. We're seeing significant numbers of growth in terms of student population, and really no way, because the state has not historically done a very good job of helping districts dealing with capital construction pricing, costs, projects at all. And they're still not. They're getting better with awesome grants and those types of things and bond backing. But still, the decision was made, the Oregon legislature passed the ability for school districts to actually charge a construction excise tax. And that was a pretty big deal for them to do that because it required an adjustment to the Oregon Constitution. So subsequently, schools can pass a construction excise tax, and at the time, I would say, and this, don't quote me, but it's about 50% of the schools probably said, yeah, we're going to do that. And it was $1, it was set at $1 a square foot for new construction, certain numbers of exemptions for religious institutions, agricultural institutions, those types of things. And so that got passed, and a lot of districts, received some decent money from that, honestly. And then as construction started to slow down, and when we got into the Great Recession, people had just kind of forgot about it because there just wasn't a tremendous amount of growth that was generating that revenue. I can't say what the situation was here at Estacada, but that number has not left. This body has not approved an increase of that rate, even though the Department of Revenue and the OARs of the particular legislation in 2009 were allowed to index that amount upwards on a square footage basis based on the construction price index. So subsequently, every year, business managers get a memo from the Department of Revenue saying, well, this is what the amount is for this particular fiscal year that a school district could charge. And now that amount is $1.67 a square foot for residential with 84 cents a square foot for commercial construction. And we have not, we haven't upgraded it. And, it's a legitimate discussion as to, if you don't want to do that, because it is a tax. I mean, it increases the price of a house, sometimes somewhat significantly.
Our last update was 2009, did I hear that right?
Actually, the allowing for increasing indexing happened in 2009. Ours is still at $1 per square foot, which means that was set in stone in 2007 upon the original acceptance of entering into a construction excise tax.
What was commercial if resi was one?
50 cents. Yeah, it was 50 cents. Yep, 50 cents. And so that's where we are today, at this amount today. So we are still at that rate at this moment in time. Yeah, So anyway, that's essentially it. I can tell you that when we're talking about where that money is going to go to, the legislation did say that, that really we have to spend that money on, things that are tied to growth. So we actually have the ability to spend it on roofs, on buildings, on portable classrooms, those types of things. But it can also be spent on desks. On occasion, we can actually stretch it to say we need some more textbooks, those types of things. Anything that relates to having more kids in the district. And they're in the backup, I mentioned some of the revenues that we've received in years past from that. And it varies a lot, and it always happens on the time when the permits are pulled.
So
I got a question
logistically,
for you.
oh, go ahead.
I built a house a year and a half ago, okay? And I paid an extra $1,000 to the Clackamas County for my permits to go to the school.
Yep,
Does that have anything to do with this, or is it?
that is
this.
this.
Oh,
That is
okay.
exactly it.
But is it per square foot?
It's a
So right now,
dollar
it's
per square
$1 per square foot,
I don't have 1,000, I've got 3,000.
but it's in addition to, cause we won't get into it, but it's square footage added to the
Footprint of the
land,
property.
the footprint of the property, so.
Oh, okay.
So if you had 2,000 square feet, you remodeled, you added 1,000 square feet, you'd only pay for the additional square footage that you added to the public record of the property.
It would have made a couple $1 million difference at this point.
Yeah.
I'm sorry?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes,
Quick
it
math.
Yeah.
And again, I think it's worth noting a couple things. Number one, we've never increased it since it was started, not by a penny, even though we've had a lot of growth, to Director Berman's point. But also when you look at the 16 districts that are listed in the board backup, right? Of the 16, almost half are at the max. 7 of the 16 are at the $1.63. 6 of them are at the minimum, still at the dollar. And the other 3 are in the middle, right? So,
Are the ones still at $1 just asleep at the wheel, or?
well, we're one of them, but yes, I think so,
Probably.
right? When you look at those, you look at a Gresham Barlow,
Okay.
Newburgh, Oregon Trail,
I was expecting
Riverdale,
like a really small district to, okay.
Silver Falls. I mean, those are the ones that are still at the dollar minimum, and still at the 50-cent non-residential.
How many of those passed their bonds though? It's like Gresham Barlow passed their bonds, they both have new schools.
Finally, yeah,
Right.
no, absolutely.
Sandy
Silverton.
passed their bond,
Yep.
Silverton passed their bond.
I would say probably all of them have passed a bond
Right,
if they've gone out for one in
Okay.
recent history.
I'm saying that matters, but.
It matters,
It does matter.
so,
That's a really good point.
yeah.
So you said that, John, I had the same experience when it had an addition, I think had to be over 1,000 square feet, and we were required to pay extra. When you said that's when the permit is pulled, that's logistics of when that's charged to a builder or?
Yeah, yeah. Either a builder or an owner.
Yeah, okay.
Okay,
Seems you're adding very little to even a home addition at that point. It's like, I don't think you can add on to your house for less than $100,000.
I hate new taxes.
I do too. But
I hate that I'm a builder, but I also hate the problem with the enrollment report that, you know, it's all new construction and we have no way of accommodating those students. We're
it'd
in
be nice to have
outdated
the money
buildings.
to fix the boiler instead of move the office, which we could have done with this.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or get some level 5s done, because we're clearly not getting a bond.
right now.
And just for some context, I built my house in 2017, and I had 8 windows that have failed, that are no longer available. I paid $900 for those 8 windows in 2017.
Yeah, right.
To replace those now, it's $2,600 for the very same windows. So I mean, just to give you a little price increase since 2017, I mean, that's quadrupled.
Yeah, if you
And
We're
compound just
almost
the
2
3%.
decades.
we've had our windows since 1965.
62, I think it was 62.
Like, it sounds like a lot,
Yeah.
but everything in the construction industry, and I think everybody up here can attest to this,
Yeah.
nothing has stayed the same, nothing.
Yep.
And nothing has gone down.
I wish my windows were as cheap as yours.
Yeah. But I think the other thing too, and I know we talked about this when we talked about a bond, right? I don't think anybody here likes to increase taxes. But if I know exactly where they're going and exactly what they're used for, then I feel a lot better about it.
I agree. If I knew it was coming right here, I'd feel a lot better than going to the.
And so we know 100% that this additional money is coming directly to the school district and going into capital construction fund,
Capital
so that
projects.
we can take care of our facilities and take care of our students and take care of our employees. And that to me, I'm in, right? Because that's the only, one of the few times that we actually get to direct exactly what entity gets those funds and what they can be used for.
I've got one question for you. If we're gonna go for a bond, which we're gonna have to do ultimately, is this gonna help us or hinder us in the passing of the bond?
It's hard to know.
I don't know if we have an answer for that, but
I think permit pullers are fractional to bond payers. I don't know the number. I'd imagine it's.
It'd be slightly anecdotal, but I would say that when you look at the demographics of the people that are voting in the bond, or on the bond, the demographics are not, I wouldn't say are the biggest population buying and building new houses in Estacada. If that makes sense.
Say that
No,
again.
it doesn't.
So-
Help me out.
When you look at the demographics, and I don't know the numbers off the top of my head, but typically, the older generation, older residents are the ones that are participating in the elections, statistically, because that's information that we can get. And we can get it and pull it and send it to everybody. But if that's the population of 65 and older, the vast majority of people that are buying new houses in Estacada or building new houses in Estacada are not in that 65 and older population. Doesn't mean that they're not in there at all, right? There's some in there for sure. But when you look at the 1,500 houses over here, you know, how many of those were bought by people in the category that participate in the elections as consistent
Well, and the
participators?
reality is the homeowner isn't going to, I mean, overall, they're going to pay it.
Correct.
But they're not gonna have the hit originally, it's gonna be the builder that's gonna have the hit originally. Obviously, it gets passed out to the homeowner, but it's just wrapped in the price of the house. So it's not like us coming after them.
True. But it's a good question, and I think that it's part of the whole scenario, for sure.
Yeah.
I think it's an interesting question.
Yeah.
I just wouldn't wanna do something that would hinder us.
Right.
So,
And we run into similar question of, right, we're trying to pass a bond, so we're waiting to fix things, right? Because we need a bond to do that, and we can't just continue to wait until we pass it, right? So we can't do nothing in hopes that we pass something down the road. We have to do the best that we can. And to me, this is one of those things that makes sense based on where we're at from a community and the growth and all of those things. And we have foregone this income for a long time. So you're welcome.
Yeah.
And we're at the point now where it's something that in my mind, we need to consider.
I could see like somebody saying no to a bond because we haven't tried to access all the money that we actually could receive. Like saying, well, why aren't you charging $198 or I don't know, $163 or whatever
Yeah.
that dollar is? You guys have access to that. That could be a lot of, you know, instead of asking us for
that
more
was
money.
just going through my brain
Yeah, I mean,
too.
but I could see the opposite side, and I think that's what you were starting with. Like,
Yeah.
if we're asking for more now, can we ask for more later?
the
I get
older-
what you're saying, but I think there's two sides of that.
The older population would say, well.
Get it from
let-
them.
let
They're the ones
let
that
the
ruin
new
your
ones
school.
do it.
Yeah, yeah, so I can see both
We're
sides.
getting
It's a
some
good
head
question.
nods from our community liaison
That's-
out there.
That's literally the number one thing I hear.
Yeah, it's a good question though.
Yeah.
I mean,
Why didn't
but I
you
think-
charge the new houses?
Yeah.
I get that all the time.
And this is actually showing that, you know, that they're charging more for the people who are coming in newer.
Yeah.
And has been, for the people that are hard-nosed, that's been the complaint. Like, the new people should pay for it. Which we know can't happen, but.
Right. Doesn't work that way. All right, good discussion. Any additional discussion? All right, all in favor, raise your right hand.
Motion carries.
That brings us to item M, hearing of citizens for non-action
We
items.
have none.
All right, with that, then we will adjourn. Thank you very much for being here.